All right, everyone. So I'm so excited that you're able to join us today. My name is Wendy Hicks, and I'm the Assistant Director of Recruitment and Admissions. And so you are now tuned in to You've Applied, Now What? So we'll go ahead and get started. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to three of our current students who are assisting me today and allow them to introduce themselves to you.
Hi everyone, my name's Cindy. I'm a second year in the Behavioral Sciences and Health Education department.
Hi everyone, my name is Miriam. I am a first year in the BC department.
Hi everyone, my name is Sierra and I'm a first year in the epidemiology department.
All right, thanks, ladies. So today, for the agenda, we're gonna first talk about relaxing. I know a lot of you, if you have not received your decision yet, you're kind of like, oh, what's going on? What's gonna happen? So we're gonna just talk about a few easy ways, and of course, there's many more than what we have listed, but a few ways to just relax and kind of ease your state of mind while you're waiting for your decision. We're going to talk about navigating the Opus self-service portal. We're also going to discuss financial aid briefly. If you did not tune in last Friday, we did have a webinar of the financial aid about financial aid. So please go to our YouTube page and review that, and it'll answer more of your questions. And I can provide you with the financial aid email later. We're also going to talk about the application life cycle, so you can kind of get a feel for where you may be in the cycle if you have not received a decision. And we'll also talk about if you have received a decision, where your next steps from there. And then we'll also discuss how you can connect with us, and we'll open up for questions. So if you think of a question while we're going through, please feel free to type it in, but just know that we will address questions at the end in the order in which they were received, okay? So let's get started. First, relaxing. So the biggest thing is you need to celebrate the milestone of actually submitting the application. SOFIS can be fun to apply to. I'm being funny. But we definitely want to encourage you to be like, whoo, okay, I've got that under my belt. Really focus on what are the next steps. Treat yourself to your favorite dessert. I like ice cream. What do you all like?
I like brownies.
Brownies.
Cheesecake.
Cheesecake.
Oh,
Okay.
you can't go wrong with that
You can't
either.
go wrong. So clearly we're all foodies. Some of you may want to read for fun. I am in a program, so maybe reading's not fun for me. But did you any of you read or anything?
Well, if I have the time, but
Okay, okay. Get a massage. Now there's a lot of things like Groupon and all of these services that allow you to get services
Yes.
for a discounted price. And then anything else that will bring you calm and peace during this waiting period. So those are just a few of the things that we all practice and we encourage you to do as well. Right?
So while we do want you to relax, don't be a little too relaxed. You still need to make sure that you're keeping up to date with stuff. So we're gonna start with talking about Opus. Shortly after you submit your application through SOFIS and the admissions office receives it. Now keep in mind that it can take a while, especially during high volume application time. So after you submit it and Emory receives it, it will then be uploaded onto Opus and available for the committee to use. You will then receive an email with your Opus Net ID and instructions on how to use the system. Now, Opus is our online student portal where you can access your account. And I would really emphasize that please make sure that your information on Opus is up to date because it's going to be very pertinent in the next few weeks. So once you get into Opus, it would look a little bit like this. You would have your student ID number / employee ID. It says employee ID, but it's really employee. And you would really realize how important that is once you hopefully sign up for real. And then next on the right pane, you have your check to-do list. I really emphasize constantly checking this to see any outstanding items that you would need to keep up with. And this can be information, whether it's FAFSA, any other financial documents that you may need to complete, confirming enrollment, really anything along those lines. Towards the center, under the personal information, is contact information. You would really want to make sure that you're verifying all of the information on there. So whether it's your phone number, your email address, your street address. For your email address, we really encourage you to choose one that you prefer, that you check regularly, because this is the mode that Emory will be sending you emails and all these communication emails. So you really want to make sure that it's an email that you know that you would be checking on a regular basis. Additionally, I would really recommend that you add the admissions admin account as well as perhaps your departmental admin account to your address book, because what you would hate to do is have any email sent to you go towards your junk mail or spam, and you definitely don't want that. Trust me, I think I last year when I was applying, I had a couple emails get sent there, and that wasn't fun.
Oh no.
Right. And then towards the bottom, you have your view online decision part. And this is basically where Emory will be telling you whether or not you have been um, admitted to the school, and hopefully a lot of you guys become future Eagles. Again, you want to make sure that you're regularly checking this and making sure that you are making deadlines and submitting things on time. But yeah.
All right.
Okay, so now I'll give a brief overview of financial aid. I know we did a webinar last week, so this will just be very brief. So you want to go ahead and apply for your financial aid as soon as possible because need-based grants as well as real is dependent on your FAFSA. And so you can complete the FAFSA at the website listed on the slide. I know sometimes there are services where they charge you. FAFSA to submit an application is free, so don't pay for anything. What you can do is you can actually import your information from your tax data from the IRS. And so I did that. It was really simple. I just had to enter like my social security number or something like that. And all of my information was uploaded as far as like my income and everything, which wasn't a lot.
It's okay. It's getting ready.
So do it. Do your FAFSA.
And also you will want to put Emory school code on there, regardless of whether you've been admitted to the university or not. You can also put multiple school codes on there. So any schools that you're interested in applying to or going to, you want to make sure you put those school codes on your FAFSA. Be sure to include your social security number. And like I said, apply as soon as possible because things like real and the need-based scholarships and loans are based on your FAFSA. And like me personally, I did my FAFSA like as soon as it came open, like the day it came open to apply.
Awesome.
I did too. Yeah.
Because I wanted to make sure I got my real and I got considered for a scholarship. And if you're an international student, you can check out the Emory Financial Aid website, which is listed on the slide, if you need additional help or resources.
And for those of you who are like, what is REAL? We do go more in depth on our webinar last week about REAL, but it stands for the Rollins Earn and Learn program, and it enables you to work while you do like an internship at one of our awesome organizations. So you can be at the CDC, the Jimmy Carter Center. So it gives you a chance to go outside of just like, working at a store or things like that. It actually gives you a chance to learn or earn some public health experiences. Thank you. Also, as a note, I am aware that some places do not allow you to put your social security number, or if you decide not to, I do want to let you know that if you do not include your social security number on your admissions application, it will not match up to the financial aid office for completion of your file, so it won't let them know that you have a complete application. So after you submit your application and you've been verified by SOFIS and everything, you'll want to reach out to financial aid and just make sure if you don't see anything populating regarding financial aid in your OPUS account, you'll want to verify that they have you as a completed application in their system. Their email is finaid, FINAID at emory.edu, or you can call them. It's also listed on their website. So we just wanted to throw that in there. All right.
All right, and outside of applying for financial aid with FAFSA, you would also want to search for external funding because a master's program is expensive, especially here at Emory where it's a private institution.
But it's worth it.
It is very
Definitely worth it.
Very worth it. So we've listed some different resources and websites that you can go to find scholarships, such as FastWeb, which is like a big database of all types of scholarships. And then you have the Association of Schools and Programs of Public Health, which is also a good one because it's public health specific scholarships. So yeah, just be sure to not only limit yourself to the FAFSA, be sure to search for extra money because money is always a good thing.
Always.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the application cycle and explain to y'all how long it takes for your guys' applications to be processed on our end. So most of you will know you just submitted your online application to SOFIS, your transcripts, personal statements, whatever other supplemental documents that each school required. So all of that gets sent to us once SOFIS has verified everything. And so that's step number 2. And then step number 3 is when the Office of Admissions receives all of the applications and they send it to the different departments because each of the academic advisors in the departments are the ones that review your applications. And that takes some time. I know right now all the ADAPs, that's what we call them, all the ADAPs are really busy looking over your applications. So hopefully if you haven't heard back from anyone or anything yet, you soon will. Okay, so that takes us to step number 4. Once the departments review the applications, they turn the decisions back to the Office of Admissions, where you will receive your acceptance, waitlist, or rejection. Hopefully not, but hopefully you can come here. And then that's step number 5. So if you are admitted, your official acceptance letter can be found on Opus and a physical copy will be mailed to you. And then that takes us to step number 2. We'll be sending you a physical admitted student gift. Yeah, it's
I like that one.
Yeah, it's like a really nice black portfolio. It comes in super handy for job interviews and networking opportunities. International students, you get to pick that present up during international orientation, which is a week or 2 before orientation for everyone else. And then soon after that, you're going to get a slew of communications from your academic department. If you have any other requirements for to submit to your advisor or whatnot, then there's going to be communications for new student orientation. It goes out as early as late May. We want to make sure you're up to date with all the updates and events that we have, especially for new student orientation. So that goes back into what Miriam said about adding the email to your address book, because sometimes these communications get added to your junk mailbox and you don't want to miss out on important announcements or deadlines. So make sure to do that. And also, you should have received an invitation to join us for Visit Emory. It's an event for admitted students. It's going to take place very soon, next month, March 22nd to 23rd. Okay, so that takes us to number 3, next steps. So yeah, make sure you visit the admitted student portal, and a link for that should have been sent to you in your acceptance email. And make sure to return the admissions decision form by April 16th and pay the deposit by April 16th. It's not refundable, by the way, just to make sure y'all get that. And make sure you visit your academic department, your website, contact your academic advisors, ask them as many questions as you want that are pertinent to your department. And this is what the admitted student portal looks like. And again, make sure to find the link on your email. I highly recommend to save this in your bookmark so that way you're not scrambling back and forth to your email trying to look for the link again. It'll just be a quick way to access it whenever you need to. And so this is where you'll find different announcements pertaining to admitted students. They're going to have also different communications related to things like Visit Emory, orientation, other deadlines that you need to follow as well. So we really make sure to communicate with these with you. It might sound redundant because we send you emails and communications through the admitted student portal, but again, we just want to make sure you're on top of everything. So there's that.
All right, and so if you have received a letter with a wait list, it would be mailed to you as all of the decisions are, but it also will be found in Opus. But be not dismayed because, as you know, you are able to apply to a second and third choice. So if you're waitlisted, an email notification that your application was forwarded to your second or third choice of the department that you chose should be sent to you. You'll also receive communications from the departments who are reviewing your applications. Now, please keep in mind, waitlisting can come across, can take place for different reasons. So maybe there is an academic issue, or maybe they were full, and so they're waiting for, another list, somebody to drop off the deposited list and they're not going to attend. So there's not a time frame per se that you'll know if you've been selected off the wait list unless you are, selected and admitted into a different department. So please keep that in mind. If it is something that maybe you need to strengthen your application, please note the department will often or sometimes reach out to you and let you know like they need additional information. So please be sure to submit that to them as soon as possible. But if you don't hear anything from them, there's no need to send anything additional in because they will ask for it if they need it. And then third, you will return your admissions decision form if you are offered an acceptance into a different department by April 16th. And if you accept the offer, of course, you need to pay your deposit by April 16th as well. And another good thing is we do have several different sessions and visitations that we'll talk about at the end of the presentation. So please be sure to visit your academic department, especially if it's one that was your second or third choice, because a lot of times we're like, oh, this is the one I want, this is the one I want. And maybe we have chosen the second or third, but we're not as familiar with that. So you want to make sure that you are familiar with the new department that if you are offered admission that you've been admitted into. All right, so if you have not been admitted, again, your official letter will be sent to you and your decision can be found in Opus. You will get an email notification that your application was still forwarded to your second and third. So please, again, don't be dismayed. There is still a hope and there's a chance. Another communication as similar to being waitlisted will go out from the department that may request additional information for the second and third choice who are reviewing you. You also may want to contact the academic department for feedback. So like for me, if I ever applied for something or a job and I wasn't offered the position, similar to that, I would often reach out and say, hey, could you tell me how I could either strengthen my application or things I could have done? So that is something that we encourage you to do because they may be able to tell you, okay, this year, maybe you weren't offered admission, but if you strengthen these areas, then you'll be able to reapply next year. Also attend RSPH application admissions events to learn more about preparing a strong application, which are our info sessions. We have these webinars. We also have tours where sometimes you can, if you coordinate with the Office of Admissions, you can actually reach out to the ADAPs, which are the academic department heads, but I'm not heads, excuse me. Assistant directors of academic departments, sorry about that. They will, academic programming, they will be able to coordinate with you and set up a visit. So maybe you can have some one-on-one time. And then last but not least, please reapply. So if Emory is definitely where you want to go and maybe you didn't get the decision you wanted, or if you were admitted into a department but you want to actually go to the department that you applied for first, please don't give up. Please reapply. We definitely tell students to reapply and come because if this is where you want to be, we definitely want to have you. So moving on, connecting with us. So these are some ways that you can connect with us, both in person, virtually. We do know that some of you may not be in the state, so we definitely want you to be able to get all of the information that you can. You can meet us here at Rollins for our admissions information session. We have one coming up this Friday. I'll be there. I'm Wendy. I'm excited about it. So during that session, you actually get to have a mini information session. You also get to meet with ADAPs. So they're there. You can walk up to them, ask them any questions. We have an alumni and current students there to kind of give you a student perspective. Alumni often talk about, their path, and they may have been in one department, but now they're working in Ethiopia. So there's a lot of great information that they provide. We typically have a career services, but we're having a big career services fair, so we will not have a career services representative at this Fridays, but you will be able to reach out to career services if you have any follow-up questions. And then the last one will be on Friday, April the 13th, and we will have the same available as well as a career services representative. We also have guided school tours, which will be with our wonderful Cindy. She's one of our awesome graduate assistants. We also, a lot of times, our ambassadors, and so Sierra and Miriam, they're two of our awesome ambassadors. They can step in and give school tours. They'll be helping us out with our Visit Emory event. So please visit us, even if you just want to come by for a tour of the area. You can check out our recruitment calendar. The link is listed there, and that actually shows you where we are in the U.S. So we have some upcoming events in Michigan, California. We'll have one in Atlanta. On tomorrow, there'll actually be a DC prospective student and admitted student mixer with alums. So it'll give you a chance to kind of, rub elbows with some of our alumni and other students. So if you haven't, if you're in the area and you haven't registered, please register. It's on our website. And last but not least, for admitted students only, March 22nd and 23rd, visit Emory. So if you have not registered for that, to find student housing while you're here, please make sure you visit the website as an admitted student again, and fill out that registration. Our virtual events are like this one. So we have some pretty cool ones coming up. While this one's more general, we're just giving you an overview of the process. We actually have our departmental webinars that will be taking place. So tomorrow will be HPM, Health Policy and Management. On the 20th is the Global Health webinar. On the 21st is the BIOS, or Biostats and Informatics webinar. Sorry, there's a little glitch there. That actually should be the Epidemiology is going to be on the 21st as well. So the BIOS is at 8 a.m. and the Epidemiology is from 12 to 1. So we do apologize for that little glitch. February the 22nd is going to be the EMPH. So if anybody who's attending right now is a student who has 3 or more years of public health work experience, you'd be able to look into that program. We also have on the 27th the Environmental Health webinar. And last but not least is BSHE. We got 2 BSHE students here. Behavioral Science and Health Education webinar. And so those will give you a way more deep dive into the departments, what they're looking for, what the classes are. They go over their curriculum. So it's a great opportunity for you to gain more insight about the different departments, especially if you're not able to visit us here on campus. Before we move into questions, you'll be able to type in questions. Kind of what we're going to do is we'll open it up and we'll start reading the questions, and then we'll respond. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and ask us. So give me 1 second. Okay. So when should we hear back about admissions? And that's okay.
Yeah, so it really it depends on when you submitted your application. We've had several students, we have a lot of students who submitted back in December, and they started hearing back as early as the first week of this month, or even the end of last month. So usually about 4 to 6 weeks after you submit your application, that's when you should start hearing back with a decision from the Office of Admissions.
But if you don't hear it within that time, please be patient.
Don't be discouraged.
Don't be discouraged. Please be patient. They are reviewing as quickly as they can.
Yeah, this is like a peak time right now for applications. So all the ADAPs have their hands busy, and so does the Office of Admissions. So please be patient. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to sph.admissions@emory.edu.
And for those of you who did apply by the January 5th deadline and you're verified, also note that you're being automatically reviewed for scholarships, and so those notifications will be going out as well. So that may be slowing a process because they are identifying top applicants for different merit scholarships. Do you have any other questions? Okay. If part of my application was not complete, such as my transcript, does that does that disqualify me for a scholarship? No, if we have the information, if you were considered if we did have a copy of the transcript, sometimes departments will review based off that, but that's not a guarantee. So it does depend on if we had the transcript and those they have to see the grades, they would have to have that information. But if it was missing completely, unfortunately, yes, if it wasn't submitted by January the 5th, and they don't have a copy or they weren't able to review that, then you would not be able to have been considered. But again, we gave you some external scholarship sources, so please go and look into those because some of those are based off of the Peace Corps, or if you've done service, different things like that, so it may not be merit based. If we've been rejected from our first choice, how long does it take for our second choice to review us?
I know for me personally, I had an incident last year when I was applying where I actually was applying for the MSPH program and I didn't put the MPH program as a second choice. And so the ADAP personally emailed me and was like, hey, you didn't put this down. Are you considering still doing the FEMPH? So it just depends on whether or not, I guess, if you put a second choice down, that the ADAP would email you, or if you didn't put it down. But I feel like it just depends on when the the department can review your application and send you back notification of whether or not you got in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so kind of how our system works, it is electronic, and so different ADAPs have different like they go by alphabet, and so if you're then rerouted into a different departmental choice, then you'll be added to the queue. So you're essentially put in line. So while that may restart the process as far as maybe 4 weeks, hopefully it wouldn't take that long, but there is going to be an additional time because you've now been added to a different queue to be reviewed, because you're not added to a second or third until you've had a decision on your first choice. So just keep that in mind.
Any other questions?
Either we did a great job or we were boring. Hopefully it wasn't boring. Hopefully not the latter. Yes. And if you have any other questions, it doesn't have to be about the application. It can be about our students, our current students who are sitting here, their experience, if they've done the real program, what their practicum has been like, part-time jobs. Oh, we have one. Are there any scholarships for Masters in Public Health for international students? Is that sufficient for living with a family with one kid? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Oh, yeah. So, as we mentioned before, we really encourage you to check out the link that can we go back to the previous slide with it? There's going to be a link that we provided earlier with, sorry, this noise is getting to me. Oh, yeah. So if you look at this slide here, please visit this link for resources for international students. But unfortunately, international students do not qualify for federal aid just as domestic students do. This is just what we wanted to get across, but don't let that discourage you from finding external scholarship opportunities. But again, we also have the Emory International Student Services. It's called the ISSS. I also encourage you to Google them and check out what other resources they can offer you too. Emory does have a very strong international student presence, and we really try to meet the needs of every international student that comes through our doors.
Yes, and also keep in mind there's things like the Emory Alumni Board, Leadership Scholarship, things like that. So there are outside donors who may base scholarships not on merit, but it could be based off if you're a female or a male and you're from this area or you're doing this type of service. So, and it tells you the guidelines. So some of them are stipends, some of them may be full pay. They'll usually tell you the amount that will be granted. And so you'll be able to decide based off of your budget and your family whether or not that would be something that would be sustainable for you while you're here in school. But they're all very different, and they all have different requirements for students to meet. All right.
How do you all like life in Atlanta? Ooh.
Oh, it's great.
I mean, Atlanta is known as the public health capital of the world. I mean, you have great organizations like the CDC literally right next door to us. So there's plenty of opportunities for you to pick up like a part-time position or a summer internship with them that can lead into full-time opportunities. So I personally moved from California, which is like not a stone's throw away. So it didn't take a lot of, it wasn't a huge culture shock in my experience. I really do like it because it's a thriving city. It's definitely bustling and growing. What do you all have to say to that as well?
I also came from Ohio, and compared to Ohio, I think Atlanta is definitely a little bit more exciting. In terms of public health, there's a plethora of things to do in Atlanta, not only with the grassroots organizations that Emory is partnered with, but also with our faculty in itself. I think for all of the departments, they have amazing faculty who've done work domestically and internationally. So through them, you can also find other opportunities. In terms of Atlanta, there's a lot to do. There's a lot to explore.
Yeah. We have a huge foodie culture, so if you're adventurous with trying new foods, definitely do not shy away from visiting.
Yes. And I always like to tell people Atlanta is very
you make it.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, because it's more than just one big city. So you have Atlanta, but like Emory, we're technically in North Druid Hills, so we're in like more of a like suburban Decatur area. So you have those areas that like, yes, there's a big city, but right at like across the street or like down the road is where you'll have little suburbs or little outdoor markets or little 5 Points. So everybody can kind of find an area that they fit into in Atlanta, because because Atlanta itself is really several communities that are coming together to make, one big area that we refer to as Atlanta. So it's pretty cool. If you cannot receive an admissions decision before Visit Emory due to taking your standardized test in March, what are some recommendations for having a similar experience finding housing and networking with other students? That's a great question. So I would definitely suggest April coming to that admissions info session. So yes, while the info session will be you'll hear information you probably are familiar with that gives you a chance to actually meet with the department. So during Visit Emory, they have a departmental meeting that gives you a chance to meet other students. They give you a chance to meet our ambassadors, and they take you on a tour so you can have a lot of the same experiences. You can also, if you're unable to make it and you are offered admission, you can, like we said, reach out and kind of coordinate your visit with the info session to actually meeting with an ADAP or a faculty member if they're available. You would coordinate with the Office of Admissions for that, and we do have travel grants available for our information sessions. So make sure anything that you would want to get done, before while visiting, you would apply for a travel grant because that would enable you to get some coverage. We only submit up to $250, so you may be approved for the max amount, or depending on where you're coming from. So I would definitely encourage you to attend the last information session or set up a campus tour and reach out to those departments or faculty and kind of make your own little visit.
In regards to the last part about finding housing, we do have an RSPH Facebook group set up for finding roommates. Unfortunately, Emory does not offer on-campus graduate housing, so everyone here lives off-campus, whether that be an apartment, condo, or house.
Unless you're like a resident advisor or something. That's the only
do you want to talk about your experience with finding housing?
My experience, well, luckily, during my college tours, my graduate school tours, I met a girl who's also had been accepted to some of the similar schools. So we kind of ended up finding each other and finding housing together. So that was how my my housing finding process was. But it was pretty good. Once you come to visit Emory, I would recommend that you start looking at apartments as soon as you get here, just because depending on how students get send in their reply to officially come to Emory, you definitely want to start looking at housing because, especially if you're looking for locations closer to Rollins campus, they can be a little bit on the pricey side, but sometimes you can get good discounts on deals on apartments. So I'll definitely start looking into that.
And I would also say, we always make it a joke, but it's like we have a external housing finder, which is kind of like dating, but for housing. I'm just kidding. But essentially it allows Emory students, everybody is vetted, so you're checked out, background check, everything like that. It allows you to create a profile. You can put anything on there from I have a boyfriend, will it bother you? Or I like cats, I don't like cats. I like it because like the people will post on there, I'm really messy, so if you have a problem with dishes, and then there's people who are like, I'm very neat, very clean, I go to sleep at 8. So it's a great way for students across the university to find housing and roommates because they also post if it's somebody who's subletting or having like a room or things like that. It's a great opportunity for you to get to know other students within the university as well as finding housing and kind of like previewing your future roommate, as well as the house ahead of time. So hopefully that answered questions. So for other schools, I had to do Skype interviews. Does Emory do? No. So one of the great things about your statement of purpose,
it speaks for you.
Yeah, it speaks for you. So it's kind of like your chance to say what you need to say to win that department over. But it essentially gives us a chance to learn about insight as to you. And I'll let the students talk about their method for writing their statement of purpose.
So I know for me, I wrote my personal statement draft, and I was told that it wasn't good because I know Emory gives you like a large word count if it's the same as it was last year.
Yeah.
1,500?
Yeah, I wrote like 1.5 pages, like single spaced.
Yeah, they give you a lot to talk about, so don't be scared. Well, you've already submitted your application, but you should have talked about as much as you could. There's no like she said, you're just winning the department over, so any experience. I know for me, I tried to use as much as I could for my personal statement just to make sure I talked about as much as I could. But yeah, it's pretty much you're just, like she said, trying to win them over.
Also to add on to that, definitely recount all of your experiences, like what led you to pursue public health in the first place. And while there is no word count, be succinct. I mean, don't write like a novel and a half. You want your academic advisors to fully get the picture of why you want to become a dedicated public health professional. And a lot of our students don't have public health backgrounds. They might have backgrounds in like biology or political science or even engineering, as I've heard in the past. And so just integrate all those experiences and tie it back to the very mission of public health and like how you want to live out the mission of public health with your own background, just because we do emphasize diversity in our student body. So it's really great to see how people with different mindsets can contribute to our school.
And also, what you might not realize it, perhaps you didn't have something that necessarily had to do with public health, but you still have very much transferable skills from your other experiences. And I think it's really important to kind of unpack that and really expand on that in your personal statement. So that's kind of what I did.
All right. Does anyone ever appeal an admissions decision? Yes, and that would be something that would be handled by our assistant and associate dean of admissions, as well as the department heads. So if that is something that you would like to do, please email me personally. My email is W for Wendy, N for Nicole, Hicks, so WN Hicks, HICKS, at emory.edu. I will forward your concern to the deans. You may want to search online to see if there's any additional steps, but at least I can point you in the right direction on next steps if that's something that you're interested in doing. So how was your apartment search? Did you use the housing site or the other site?
So my apartment search was very stressful because when I came to visit Emory, I looked at like 1 or 2 apartments and I was like, oh, I'll just do this later. And it was basically, I didn't get an apartment until like July, and we came here in August.
Start early.
Yeah, and I will say that I tried because I didn't know anyone and I kind of started looking for housing late. I decided to live on my own, which is expensive. And so I decided to move on the outskirts of the school so that I do have kind of a commute, but I'm paying less rent. So, yeah, staying closer to the university will definitely cost more than, living further out or whatever.
Yeah, I think we touched upon this before, but yeah, start early. I personally started reaching out to people around like April or May because that's when the RSPH housing Facebook group gets like the most traffic volume. I personally didn't really look at the housing website that Emory had to offer just because on the Facebook page, you really get to see like who is posting like vacancies or who is also looking for other people to list. So that gives you a much better way of directly contacting those people too.
Great. Is it possible to start with the master's program and expand to a PhD? So as far as expanding, I will say you do have to graduate and apply. So, because I know there are some programs that allow you to, continue on, but that does not happen here. So you would need to graduate. While you're in your last semester, last year, you can apply, to the PhD program. But as a note, our PhD program is actually through the Laney Graduate School. So you would actually be admitted into the Laney Graduate School. That's where you would need to apply to. But you would be taking classes through Rollins. So we have a partnership. But yes, that's very common for our students. We have several PhD students. They've helped us at fairs and events. So if that's something that you're interested in, please go to the Laney Graduate School webpage, or if you go to our webpage, it'll connect you there. And you can reach out to them and they can tell you more about their program and ways to visit and find more about their information. But yeah, you do have to complete your program here at Rollins first before you can matriculate and attend Laney. So yeah. All right. Do we have any other questions?
Any burning questions?
Any student-based questions? No? All right. Well, if you do decide that you have any additional questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at sphadmissions@emory.edu. We'll be happy to answer your questions. And so let me get that contact information up for you. Sorry about that. Thank you. Thank you. And so, hold on one second. Sorry about that. Oh, there it is. Let's go back. There we go. There's our contact information. Sorry about that, guys. So thank y'all so much for attending. We're so excited, and hopefully we'll get to see you if you're not coming to visit Emory at one of our admissions info sessions or a future webinar. Have a wonderful remainder of your week, and thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.